Hey everybody. I should probably have my microphone in the right place. I'm so ill prepared. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Turnout. I am your host Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when we all that stuff. Oh my gosh, guys. As always, I actually did not watch Charmed last night. I watched it this morning. So with that in mind, I am amped about this episode. There were so many good things about this episode that I can't wait to kind of dive into. It's just ridiculous how good this episode is. And I guess that's how I'm going to start this. um, so I noticed that some of you, were here a little bit early, and thank you for that. I mean, I'm always, astounded when anybody is able to kind of jump on and hang out with me for, like 45 minutes to an hour to talk about Charmed. I'm in such a privileged position to be able to have an audience who can jump on at a moment's notice, because it's not like I give you guys notice for these. I try to fit it in when I can. My weekends are super busy, but I'm here and you're here and I love you, and this is going to be awesome. So I do have notes here. I watched the episode, took a bunch of notes, and I'm going to go through my notes as usual, and I'll be checking the comments probably after and going through and answering any questions that you might have or any conversation points that you want to hit. I kind of want to get my own thoughts out first, and then I dive into the chat over here. If you do want me to obviously see something before that, you can use the super chat or whatever, and it'll pop up and I'll have to answer it, and it'll be awesome. So this episode was called Ripples, and I wasn't sure. It seems like it's kind of like a dual kind of, usefulness of the title of not only is the place that they go to called Ripples, but also the rippling effect of, I guess I kind of want to say the second and third seasons, it's almost like it's not even like it's because of what Maggie did. No, actually, I think it's like this is all because of the stuff that they did in the second and third seasons. And we'll get more into that in a second. But I feel like the writers, I feel like they watched all of my reviews, because this episode is it's just layering on top of what's been happening previous episodes, where like, seriously, people, like there were some issues that needed to be addressed. And I like it that this new team of writers, they are addressing those things that I brought up. So I love it. And that's not like, hey, what do they do for a job and blah, like that stuff is like whatever. It's, it's for me, it's the larger ramifications of like the supernatural world and all of that stuff. So let's jump in. I noticed you have like, a little bit less than 10 people watching. So, hey, let's just jump into it. More people will show up as we go along, as always. So we begin with Maggie getting arrested. And let me just say that, there's a lot of I haven't even started and I already want a tangent. There's always a lot of discussion about like, why aren't they using their powers more? But I have to say that this is the kind of situation where I'm actually glad that there isn't like super rampant use of powers, right? Because like she could have easily used her emotion manipulation powers to completely get out of even being in trouble. She could have just made everybody just like her and to take it easy on her, but like that didn't happen. And I think that is because she doesn't have her own emotions in check. Maybe that's why, or she chose not to, which I think, if even either choice, I think it shows her character that she didn't abuse her powers right in the moment, because she kind of felt like she was already abusing her powers, most likely. But I really, really liked the fact that she didn't just pull out her, powers, because there's so many things that are like, hey, this could be solved by using the powers, but you shouldn't use it in all cases. So she's arrested and then she's released on bail, and she calls Kayla to come pick her up. And they address it a little bit in the thing, but like I'm like, well, obviously she calls Kayla because she's not going to call Harry, because she's not going to call Harry and she's not going to call Mel. She's not going to call Jordan because she's going to feel completely embarrassed and ashamed of what she's done. Kayla's kind of like a blank slate. Like, there's no judgment with Kayla. Kayla's like, yeah, hey, we all lose it sometimes, you know? So, like, it made perfect sense to me that she didn't call anyone. She called Kayla. And, you know, Mel even's like, why didn't she call me? She should have called me, or she should have called Harry, or, you know, it's just like, well, Kayla's like, well, Harry's burned out. Jordan and her had a big fight, so that's why she didn't call Jordan. And I'm seeing how you're reacting, and this isn't good. So maybe that's why she called me. So come on now. Although it's interesting because they have such an insular life, because like the only people that Maggie could have called was one of the stars of the show. Like, does she have zero friends? Like, you know, when the show started, like, she had sorority friends and she had college friends, and you know, I'm wondering if they really have like heavily sequestered themselves away, and whether like that's not a reflection of like Macy dying, if that's more a reflection of like, wow, we've tried to have friends in the past, and all the time they get messed with. But nobody stated it out loud that like, this is why we try not to have friends. I don't know. It was just an odd choice that like those are the only people. That could have been an interesting place to introduce maybe a new character. Maybe that's somebody that she has met along the way, or reintroduce an old character. Maybe she, you know, called up, you know, Nico and leveraged the fact that she knows information about Nico from Mel to get out of jail. I mean, it could have been a lot of different things that could have happened. Calling Kayla, perfectly fine choice. I'm just saying there were a few different directions that they could have gone with that if they wanted to, you know, elaborate and widen the world a little bit in terms of their social circle. You know, like right now at this point, it seems like Kayla is the only one who has any friends, but you also notice that the moment she decided to become a charmed one, that meant she had to basically leave all her friends behind. So, and yes, it was in a different state. That's why, but still. So anyway, hey to everybody, by the way. I'm noticing a few more faces showing up. Decidius, Superman fan, Sean Alexander, Lotus Q, Jackson McNuggets. Hello to all of you. I love you. Ooh, that was a bad accent. I'm sorry. I won't do that anymore. So Mel starts trying to use her time powers. This time she's trying to stop a clock, but it glows with red energy and then disappears. And then that's it. And she's like, oh man, I guess I incinerated it. But I'm like, if you incinerated it, there'd be a burnt or melted clock there. So definitely something else was happening. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It comes up obviously later on in the episode, but still, well, yeah, right now it's a mystery. And honestly, it was one of those really small throwaway scenes that like I had forgotten by the time it comes back into the scene. So essentially, Maggie comes home. She says, "I screwed up," and we as the viewers it's revealed to us that there's a spider in the house from the Tallyman. Which, of course, like with such an easy to conceal monitoring system, why wouldn't the Tallyman just have spiders everywhere? Like, I love this ability. Like on the back porch, front porch, you know, the foyer, all of their rooms, just like a tiny little spider in every room. And honestly, if the charmed ones were raised anything like me, I was raised that if you see a spider in your house, you don't even have to, you're like, hey, Mr. Spider, thank you for killing all the other bugs that come into the house. You know, so like for me, I would be, the Tallyman would have me because I could even see the spider and I'd be like, hello, Mr. Spider. I would just leave it. And then he would just know all my business. But anyway, of course, the Tallyman has a spider in their house and I love it. And the use of it later on in the episode, I actually also really, really love. So Kayla shares that Harry's burnt out. Jordan was a bad choice. So Mel's like, okay, well then I want to take Maggie somewhere where I can get her alone. We can kind of start to try and work through this. So she's going to take her to Ripples. And she's like, but Kayla, I'm going to leave you here. And here, Kayla, I'm going to give you this witch police radio. I'm going to give you and if the computer flash is red, just call me. I'm going to also give you the shell so that you can call me. You know, and honestly, as a father of 3, it honestly felt very much like when you're a brand new parent and you're like leaving your precious bundle of joy with like a sitter for the first time. So it's like, here's his passy, here's his bouncer. If he gets cranky, here's his treats. It feels like that. So I kind of dug that. And it shows again kind of Mel's maternal kind of instincts and stuff like that. So she's kind of treating this as a real responsibility. It's not like, yeah, I'm sure you can handle it. It's like, no, this is super important. Here's this, here's this, here's a list, here's a, emergency numbers on the refrigerator, and whatnot. So, but then she goes to Maggie. Maggie's resistant, and she's like, well, as long as you don't interrogate me, it's fine. So, yeah. Also, they don't have a TV in the command center. Like, they should probably have a TV in the command center, because like they have a couple of shots of Kayla trying to like entertain herself, and I'm like, why? Like, she could have brought a book. She's like skateboarding around, and like, what? That's weird. Bring a book and read it, or bring your iPad. It's like bring your iPad, watch a TV show. You could watch Charmed. I've heard that the new season's very good. So they get to Ripples, and the fake dean is there. And if anybody who watches Community, the fake dean. And I actually love seeing either the dean or the fake dean anywhere. I don't know why. I just love seeing them places, both of the actors, because I always go, hey, it's the dean, or go, hey, it's the fake dean. I'm weird that way. But of course, they're like, oh, the Charmed ones, a satyr is their bellhop, and they say that they're going to get a facial, a phoenix facial. I like that. And a baby kraken nibbles that'll take the calluses off your feet. And I was like, okay, I like the kind of mixing in of like the fantastical elements. I didn't like it, though, that when they were getting their facials, Mel and Maggie were just sitting there and there weren't any phoenixes around. There was nothing magical happening in there. Like, I would expect more magicalness if that's what this whole place is supposed to be. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just odd that, we didn't see anybody magical doing anything. But we were introduced to the satyr, which is Robert, and that he was their bellhop, and he gets trapped in a sauna, and the Tallyman steals his uniform, including his name. So everybody, many times people were saying Robert, they were talking about the new Tallyman. In the meantime, one of Kayla's firework drawings comes to life, and it flitters around the command center. She hits it with a book, but also smashes the witch computer's button. And I was literally sitting there like, is this how the writers are going to get rid of the witch computer? Oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you so much. But then they didn't. The witch computer stays. But then she also drops the shell and it breaks as well. I was so wanting it to break. Hey, Kevin, thanks for showing up, man. So, but it didn't. So all of this stuff, I'm like, okay. So yeah. So during the facial, Mel's trying to get Maggie to open up, and it didn't happen. Okay, so they argue a little bit. It's not really that big of a deal. But honestly, I kind of want to. I'm gonna separate Kayla's stuff out, because I actually love everything that happens with Kayla here. Okay, so going back to the spa. So this is the next thing after their facials is that they're soaking their feet. And like the water is bubbling, and I was like, "Ooh, wouldn't it be interesting if they had like little baby dragons underneath that were like heating the water or anything?" But nothing like that. It was just bubbling water. Again, I think that was, and this isn't the writer's fault. Like, this is the production team and props and whoever's directing and stuff. But like, I would have loved to have had more magical things in the scene. The water's bubbling because of that. Maybe the yellow facial that they have, maybe like they have a phoenix that lays an egg and then they make it out of an egg or something like that. Like, that could have been really interesting to explain why it's the Kraken. Like, was the bubbling water baby Krakens in there? Like, I would have wanted to see that. I want to see the world. I want to feel like I'm there. And it feels like they dropped those little nuggets and then they just left them They didn't actually pick them up and utilize those as like good, storytelling things, visually at least. So anyway, so they're getting their feet done. And they're just kind of sitting around, nothing magical really happening. Maggie's like, I really don't want you to try and dissect me over this whole thing. And Mel says something. She says, "You attacked a human. That is so bad." And I'm like, you realize though, it is so bad for you to attack anybody unless like self-defense or defending somebody else. The fact that you're going out and hurting anybody is a bad thing. Yes, if you attack a human, I guess it's worse somehow, but literally you're hunting down people and attacking them. You've been doing it for months. We did the math last episode. But it's because it's bad to attack anybody. So Maggie's like, I still don't want to open up. So Mel's like, I'll just leave then. But of course, what this does is it singles out Maggie for the Tallyman to attack her. And I knew it was going to happen because then he shows up. He's like, I'm here for your massage, Miss Vera. And I was like, ooh, Tallyman. But literally, he's just like a dude. And we learn later on that, yeah, it's actually a big deal that he's just kind of a dude. And I like that. And also harkens back to what I said in the first episode. And all of you told me that it was definitely not going to happen. Where I said, all of this is probably some regular person or, people who like to screw with magic or whatever. And you guys were like, it can't just be a regular person. But this person, the Tallyman, ends up being a gremlin. He was born a gremlin, but has no gremlin powers. So in my mind, that basically just makes him a dude. So he's just like a dude. So yes, I loved the fact that I was able to kind of call that a little bit. I'm just giving myself pats on the back. I've been wrong so much that anytime I get something partially right, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. So back to the Tallyman. He's there giving Maggie the massage, and she's like spilling her guts, and he takes some of her hair, and I'm like, that was not a small amount of hair, by the way. Like, that was a lot of hair. Plus, you're not here to do my hair. What are you even doing? And it really is just this kind of like, you have to realize how trusting you have to be to get a massage. And I realize this every time I get a massage. I'm like, I'm getting naked and under a towel and I'm leaving my stuff there. And I'm like completely making myself vulnerable. Somebody could just come up and just stab me if they wanted to, because I'm laying there with my eyes closed and my face down and like all that stuff. It's very interesting. The level of trust that we place in somebody else when they are going to give us a massage. But you know what? Oh, I love getting massages. They're so good. So anyway, so Mel sees the manager pulling a dead body away and yells, please. And so she's like, she follows him and he like explains everything. And she like starts yelling at him and he goes, please don't vanquish me. And you know what? Oh my gosh. I felt so vindicated there because that's what I've been saying this whole time. Like, look at what they do from the other side of this. Like, we don't know even what Arnold is, the manager. We don't even know what Arnold is. We don't know if he's a demon or whatever. He tucked his tail away, so we don't even know what he is. But he is somebody who knows exactly who the charmed ones are, and he thought that if he gave her bad information that she was going to vanquish him. And hell yeah, they have given him every reason to think that. Everybody. They've given everybody that idea that they would that's something that they would do, because they've been, not only just because of what Maggie has been doing recently, but because of the last 2 seasons where they've been walking around just straight up, literally just like, vanquishing people. And without, it's different if they're doing it to protect somebody or if they're doing it in defense. But there were so many instances where they were going out and actively trying to vanquish / murder / kill other magical creatures and people. So again, this whole episode, I have been feeling so vindicated. You guys don't even know how vindicated I was watching this episode. So Okay, so then the Tallyman drops a black duck in the fountain, which starts spewing smoke into the water, and Mel goes through a door that ends up being Maggie's relaxation area, which is their house. And then they have like a really kind of sweet, kind of tender moment where they're like, I really miss being sisters, and I just want everything to kind of go back so we can be good again. And then Mel's, it was actually a really nice, well-written scene with the two of them. And then, of course, Mel says, also, there's been a murder. And she's like, what? So there's that. And then Mel, so then the Tallyman, so Mel starts chasing after the Tallyman and enters his dream, finds out, this is where we find out that his most pleasant dream is when he was a gremlin and his hand got all chewed up when his older sibling was telling him that he needed to put his hand into a wood chipper. And if you're a true gremlin, then, it's not going to hurt you. But here's the thing is I think that we were given the impression that he was the younger of the two people, but I think he might have been the older one. So if he's the younger one and that's his happiest memory, then oh my gosh, that's crazy. But he also has two hands. If he's the older one, then we now know that he's a gremlin with gremlin powers. But if he's the younger one, then he's a gremlin who never got gremlin powers. So I think that's the trick, is that it didn't actually define which one of those two brothers the Tallyman is. If he is the younger brother, then he is basically just a dude. And there you go. And then that falls more in line with what I was saying, that he could just be a regular person who's going around doing this. If he is the older sibling, that actually literally means that he is sadistic and he is a gremlin who is into turning things against each other, or turning magic, turning it inside out. So this kid who should be a gremlin and should possibly be able to, make the machine not work. Well, that doesn't work because I'm here and I'm the Tallyman and I'm making it still go ahead and chop off your hand. So we don't actually know which of the two brothers he is. In either case, it shows us that this person is very, very messed up in the head. I am going to be very happy when they actually maybe define that a little bit more as to, is he the older one or is he the younger one? Because if he's the younger one, this could be his happiest moment, because this was the moment where he decided that he wanted to take revenge on all magical creatures and thus became the Tallyman, and then started making up these coins so that he could spread them around and start corrupting things. So I like that. If he's the older one, then this was his happiest moment, because it was where he, became his father's favorite, and his youngest brother was out of the picture, now, who even knows the real anything that's happening? Actually, again, I love the fact that we don't know, and that the writers are doing a very good job keeping us in the dark, or at least keeping us in the dimly lit room. Because they're giving us just enough for us to come up with a ton of different theories. And I guess we'll see which of those theories ends up being correct. So I'm going to stop the Vera sisters storyline there, and I'm going to go back to Kayla, because Kayla goes to the Blue Camillia. No sign of Harry, by the way, and we probably won't find anything out about Harry until either the next episode or maybe the one after that. But she's like, I want Roxy to help me with the shell, but she's not around. And then the guy who we met either last episode or the episode before, the singing guy, he introduces himself as Dev, says he can help. He also says that he is a Gandharva. And he says, so, mixing music and magic is kind of my thing. So I looked it up because I had never actually heard of a Gandharva before. And in Hinduism and Buddhism, they are basically celestial beings, spirits, angels, whatever you want to call them, avatars. The males are amazing singers, divinely amazing singers, and the females of this are divine dancers. Okay, so this is interesting stuff that I'm learning here about Gandharvas. It's also a term for skilled singers in Indian classical music. They're called Gandharvas. Um, Gandharvas acted as messengers between the gods and the humans, often also acting as muses for artists. So like they're still just it's awesome. Like I'm really digging this character, and like every time I see him, I'm like I'm more and more intrigued with this character Dev. So I really like him. I like that they're bringing in something from Hinduism, and making that an actual thing. Like if you've heard of a mythical creature in any myth or any religion or whatever, like it's real. Like I love that. So he's like, I can help you with that. So yeah, like let me help you. So he starts kind of singing at the conch shell, and he's like, well, singing ain't gonna work. But he's like, I can tell you're an artist, and I'm like, oh, see, I like that, like artists meeting artists. And he's like, what is your power? And she's like, I'm a manifester. And she's like, manifest a new conch then. What the hell? So he's like, you don't need the conch to be fixed. We need you to be fixed. So she draws a napkin. She draws a shell on a napkin and it doesn't work. So he's like, he talks her through, like, well, why don't you draw martini and think about this martini glass and feel this martini glass instead of thinking. And then when she does it, he takes a drink and he doesn't turn 2D. So that's great. He's like, it was just very dry. It had too much vermouth. Then tons of martinis start appearing. So this might be the two sides kind of her ability. It could be that I can either make one and I take it out of the picture, or I can make multiples, but then I have to rip the paper to stop it. So this is yet another way to kind of make this work. And I like that. So it's showing different approaches to using this power. Hey, Maria, I love you. So then obviously so many martini glasses start showing up. So they're like, nah, you have to get out, and they rip the paper. So that's when we learn. But they eject both Kayla and Dev ends up in the command center. Oh no. Because then he's like, wait, you're a charmed one? Oh my God, I've been hearing all the stories, and like it's crazy. I loved this episode. Again, the fact that he's like, wait, you're a charmed one? Is what they say true? Because yes, of course they're going to be talking about you. You can't go around doing the stuff that they're doing. and people ain't going to talk about you. Come on now. So he goes over and he's just like, yes, I'm going to try and help you work out the computer. And then it shuts down because apparently only witches are allowed to touch the computer, which is weird. I'm pretty sure Harry has touched the computer before, and he's not a witch, but he's a white lighter, which I guess is connected to witches. Anyway, that was a weird kind of thing to kind of throw in now, because I'm pretty sure other people have touched it. I'm pretty sure that Josefina touched it before she got her powers, before she was a real witch, when she was just a practicer of brujeria. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm fine with it. I was honestly just hoping that the witch computer was just gone, but that did not work. So that did not happen. I was hoping. But then, he then tells her exactly, like, he's like, I knew how to fix the conch. I know how to fix the computer. I just kind of wanted to spend some more time with you because you're fascinating. And I was like, yes, I love this guy more now. Like, oh man, like he's just such a cool character. And you know what? There was no Jordan in this episode. So if there's no Jordan in this episode, thank you, writers, for giving me Dev, because now I have a new, very interesting, cool character for me to project my love onto. Anyway, yes, oh my God, I loved him. I'd watch a spinoff of the Dev show easily. But Kayla and Dev, they're able to fix the computer, then he leaves. I really, really hope that we see way more of him in the future. But Kayla goes to save the sisters. And then, okay, so that brings us now back to where we were. There's a lily that's in a fountain that's shooting thorns because the Tallyman had poisoned it. Mel goes after the Tallyman. Kayla arrives, gets the skinny from Mags, and says we can do a purification spell on all these bath bombs. So she draws the bath bomb, and starts producing a ton of them. They bless them. They throw them in. It fixes it. It kills the flower. I was hoping that it maybe wouldn't kill the flower, but whatever. It stopped all of the people dying, so I'm fine with that. And then they go home. So yeah, there you go. So debrief. Again, I love that they're doing these debriefs at the end of every episode. The Charmed ones, they have a really like cute moment over some nachos where they're like, "Hey, Kayla, it's fine. Messing up is part of it. It's fine." She brings up that people are now talking about who Kayla is and whether she's legit, and maybe they need to look into her past for real. Which, of course, I saw the promo for next episode. I can't wait for that. But they're like, it could bring up some messy stuff. They're like, hey, this is all messy. But what are they going to do about the Tallyman? Woo! And then the clock reappears right in the middle. And I was like, wow. So she pushed the clock forward in time. Very cool. That's what they're going to be using in the next episode. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens, especially when this is a brand new manifestation of this new time control power, being able to send people here and there. Let's hope that she's actually, got it under control before they try it next episode. The very last scene that we get is of everybody at the Blue Camillia. Everybody's phones are going off. Dev's there, like, musing about Kayla and like, can somebody be more and less and more than they seem? Oh, I love it. Like he's smitten. I love it. But they are getting these doctored videos on their phones or crystals or whatever that was taken by the spiders of them killing the Lamia. They were there when the leprechaun dies. And then, of course, after killing a Lamia, they go to the spa. Like, yeah. And one of the people says, like, the charmed ones are no heroes. If you're not a witch, you're on your own. And I was like, thank you. Because you can't argue with that. You literally cannot argue with that. If you try to say, no, they're for everybody, I point you to the last 2 seasons. Because no, that is not true. And I made a whole video about it. I talk about it every freaking episode because I'm so proud of that episode, of that video that I made, the video about vanquishing. I bring it up every time because, oh my God, they are not the good guys in this story. If you are anything other than a witch, then they are 100% not the heroes of this story. So that what is that? Like the third reason that I should feel vindicated here? I loved it. And then the Tallyman turns around and says, never meet your heroes. Mwah. Writers, oh my God. I love you all. I love all the writing team. You are amazing. You guys, I love you. Because you are just, it is everything that I kept saying for the last 2 seasons. And you are actually making it matter here in the 4th season. And I love it. I am here for it. This episode, I would say it was interesting because I think my love for this episode is largely because I feel vindicated by this episode. But the episode itself was also very interesting. It was well written. I have to say I was more interested in the Kayla Dev stuff than I was with the Vera sister stuff. But it also all came to a head at the end and all kind of, it was like 2 journeys heading to the same destination. And that destination was actually really interesting. They did a good job of creating a little bit more mystery around the Tallyman. Like they're giving us more info, but then also, they're answering questions, but also posing new ones. And they're blowing it out of the water here. It's what Kevin just said. They are blowing everything out of the water. I said this. I think the last episode I said, so far, this is my favorite season of the show. And I would say that's even better than season 1. Like this season is real good, really, really good. So that's my overall take. Now I'm going to go through some of these comments and let's see what y'all been saying while I've been running my mouth. Let's see what y'all been saying. So let's see. Superman fan, you love the episode. I love the episode as well. Let's see. It finally feels again like a Charmed show. I like the direction it's taking 100%. It definitely feels more like Charmed and not trying to take Charmed like in the way of like the Man of Steel. I'm okay with adding a harder edge or adding some gray area, but I really do think that season 2, less so season 3, but season 2, I think they took it too far. They introduced way too many things that altered what the show was. And I could still enjoy it if they were really going to commit to those changes, but they really didn't. But what I like here is that in season 4, they're not pretending like seasons 2 and 3 didn't happen. They're actually bringing those in and saying like these choices that were made in seasons 2 and 3 are going to have real ramifications here. They're going to have ripples, and I love it. I love it. Where's my Harry? He disappeared after eating a magical gnome mushroom, a mushroom from the Forbidden Gnome Forest. So make of that what you will, but that is where he is. Gonna watch this episode now in a bit. Oh, well, I mean, you should always watch the episode before coming to this because I just break down the episode, but really, I'm just touching on what stood out to me, but there's more. Like, there's no way I can say everything that happened in it, so definitely watch it. Let's see. Superman fan, it's no good. I meant the spider comment. It was the first thing I thought about when they introduced it to the show. Well, there's a lot of spider-themed things. Actually, in one of the games that I made called the Ninja Crusade, there's a ninja clan that are called the Hidden Strands, and they utilize strings almost like they're webs or whatever, and they will literally like leave trails of their string everywhere so that they can eavesdrop on people. So like spidery, that sort of thing. It's a common theme with spiders for eavesdropping and whatnot. So really cool. And if you're an RPG player, the Ninja Crusade, I designed that game. It's a lot of fun. Go play it. I don't actually talk a lot about my my game design here. I like how this actually gave me a reason to talk about it. Yes, the witchboard is here to stay. Sad but true, but it is. TV shows don't show characters watching TV. They should. I mean, and they did in the first season when, remember the episode where the characters from their favorite show came to life. So I guess they don't show them watching TV unless there's a reason for it. I guess that's true. But honestly, it could have just been, I mean, because that's the thing, right? Like if they're going to treat it like a babysitting thing, if you have a babysitter there to take care of your kids, you don't want your babysitter skateboarding around your house. Like sit down, make sure everything's cool, watch some TV. I'll be back soon. So it's like, come on now. Mel can't help but push 100% there. I mean, that's just her character. I realized last night watching the OG Charm that Kayla's powers are kind of like Richard, Paige's boyfriend. He was a manifestation conjured type witch. Hopefully Kayla will be able to just think of stuff. I hope that she's not, to be quite honest. I feel like if she's just able to just think of whatever she wants and it just appears, I think that robs her of some of the creativity and some of the uniqueness of her power. It's kind of like with Paige, where if she sees something, she can teleport it to herself. It was much harder to do if it was something she wasn't seeing, So, I mean, we all have different ideas of what a show should be. That's just my thought on it. It could work if she could just think of something and it happens, but I like the idea that she has to draw it first. I think it adds a complication to a power that technically could be OP, but having that limiting factor of, well, it has to be a drawing. It has to be something that she's, drawn now or previously. Now we're seeing that if she has strong emotions about it, it might come in overabundance. There's a lot of things about it. So I like these little complications that are thrown into the using the power, because otherwise, like, oh, I think of a gun, done. It's like, that's every confrontation. I think of exactly what I need to solve this issue. Oh wow, it's in my hand now. Like nobody wants that. That's not fun. Um, that's way too. I love that the Tallyman looks creepy and normal. I've yet to actually get the creepy vibe from him. He seems like just a dude. Maybe he'll be creepier later. I don't know. Is Mel the same woman who socked a student in the face because of his comments about Marisol and wondering what kind of consequences Maggie will face for curb stomping somebody? Well, luckily, it was not a curb stomp. It was just a normal beatdown. Um, if anybody knows what a curb stomp is, that this was not it. Curb stomping is, I know you're using it, pejoratively, and metaphorically, but yeah, I don't even like thinking about curb stomping. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like Mel really can't judge. Mel was also the one where when Abigail was there begging for her help because she was suicidal, she said, "Good luck." So there you go. Like I still have a chip on my shoulder about that. So wait, was Tallyman the older or the younger brother? I thought he was the older who maimed his brother, and that's the thing, right? He could be the younger brother. It's hard to tell because it was not obvious because we don't know. I mean, we see now the Tallyman as an older man, but this is in his past, so we don't know if that's just him, 10, 15 years ago, and the kid is him 35 years ago. Like, who knows? We really don't. And there's a lot of different avenues and directions that we could take the story depending upon whether he's the older or the younger. All of you are saying he was Merman. I don't remember seeing that. And now I feel dumb. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. So, because a few of you are saying that he was a merman. Yeah. So I'll go check that. But yeah, so, and that's the thing, right? Is that it was there, and he was just like, please don't vanquish me. And you could say that was like, something like maybe he's a skittish kind of character or whatever. But the fact that everybody, anytime that they said their names or that they were the charmed ones, people are like, whoa, really? Whoa, them? Oh, because yeah, of course they're talking about you. You're the freaking charmed ones. Like, come on. Like that. I kept saying that, like, being the charmed one is not just you get a little bit more power. Like, that's a position that holds power, especially if there's no council of elders. If there's no elders, the charmed ones are it. Like, like that's it. It's just, oh man, I love that these writers are really touching on these points. It's amazing. The charmed ones need to rethink their vanquishing ethics. 100%. They do. Yes. At least the season 4 writers are giving the sister consequences. I mean, kinda. I mean, we really we skipped past a lot of any kind of real world consequences, say for Maggie, like, oh, and now I have to go to court next week. Like, all right, that's not the worst thing that could happen to you. Like, like you're released on your own cognizance was kind of weird because why? She literally snapped and beat a dude down. Most of the time, that means you are not released of your own cognizance, but they had bail money, I guess. And I guess that was also kind of the question is we don't know how much the bail was or anything. The writers were clever not to mention an actual dollar amount. Because again, anything that you introduce, like, then we all have questions about it. So it's just like, oh yeah, I made bail. Like, how much was the bail? It was $5,000. Where'd they get $5,000? It's like, we'd start asking that question. I guess my main question would be where did Kayla get the money from? Unless because Kayla came and did the bail. Now that does kind of add the question because they couldn't take the money out of Mel or anybody else's accounts. I guess assuming that Maggie already had the money and just gave Kayla access to her account so she could pay it, maybe. But even Maggie doesn't have like a good paying job that maybe she's just really good at saving. Who knows? Or maybe this is all money from Safe Space that, that hasn't been addressed yet. But I don't really think it needs to be addressed. But still, it hasn't been addressed. That's all I'm saying. Great catch, Aloy. Yeah, on the whether he's the younger or the older brother. Yeah, I know. So we don't know which one the Tallyman was in the memory. His hand is intact, so he might be the older brother, or he's learned how to utilize magic to regrow a limb, or maybe a little bit of his gremlin DNA allows him to regrow limbs. Like, who knows, right? Like, it's hard to say. When I initially watched it, I thought he was the older brother. I'm sorry, I thought he was the younger brother, and then it dawned on me that he could have also been the older brother. So that was a thing for me that I was like, ooh, there's different avenues that we can take here. I thought that he was the younger one at first, but now I think he's the older. See, that's exactly what I just said. He told Maggie that siblings don't listen. It seems like a viewpoint the older brother would have. That's a good. Well, no, because that younger brother did listen to him, because the older brother kept saying, like, no, you're 18. It's definitely going to work out for you. So if the lesson is siblings don't listen, then the younger one was the one that the older one wasn't listening to, because he's like, look, I don't have the ability. And the older one's just like, nah, you're fine. He's like, no, but they've said I don't. And he's like, nah, you can do it. So now I'm going to take what you just said and kind of flip it on the other end. And if we're going to take that quote as the reason why you think he's the older brother, actually think that means that he's the younger brother. So there you go. Let's see. I'm really, really enjoying all of this. Rupert is directing the next episode, and that's why he wasn't in episode 4. Is it? A lot of talented actors direct an episode and be in it at the same time. I think it's fine. We've had Harry. We've had enough Harry for 2 seasons. It's the sisters' time to shine. I like it, but then they made the mistake of introducing Dev, and now I love Dev a lot. So they got rid of, like, Harry's gone. Jordan's like, I'm out until you figure your stuff out. So they got rid of 2 other characters, and then they introduced a new one. And I'm like, I want more Dev now in the episode. I don't know. I'm weird that way. Why not draw another conch? I think the reason why in the test, because this was now, they were like, she drew a conch and it didn't work. So Dev's like, think of this martini glass. Now draw a martini glass. So he was using what was in the moment. I don't think that there was any emotional connection to the conch, which would have made it harder for Kayla to use her ability in the moment during this test that they were doing. So I think that's why. That's my thought on it. Hopefully that helps out. And yes, I know I already said it, but hello, Maria. I miss you. We need to do a collab soon. I'm sure she's gone by now. Let's see. It makes sense that they were gossiping about Kayla and the sisters. Exactly. Because they're the charmed ones, damn it. The charmed ones are like magical celebs. They're not even like magical celebs. They're like the magical, president or prime minister, or they're like senators, or they're super important in the hierarchy of being magic, right? Because they're the most powerful of the witches, which and witches kind of hold this power over any other supernatural creature. They are more powerful, can vanquish anybody anytime they want to. That's why half of them are scared and the other half are gossiping about them. There's no really in between. There aren't that many who like them. It's like, it's kind of crazy. I'm digging it so much the more that they're going over it. Let's see what Maria is saying. Maybe because white lighters are created by elders initially and witches are protected by white lighters as well as being elders. So outside magical creatures, probably a no-go. And I get that. White lighters are connected to witches so they can touch the witch computer. But again, Josefina touched it. Not a witch. Jordan has touched it, and I guess maybe he hasn't touched it. He's been there before, though. Maybe because he's got a little bit of white lighter in him, it's okay. I'm just saying he's not full white lighter. So would the non-white lighter part of him make it harder? I don't know. And this is just me quibbling. This is me finding reasons to be mad about a thing. But honestly, overall, I really loved the episode. I just don't really like the witch computer. I haven't liked it since the beginning. Let's see. Doesn't Jordan live in the house, or does he just sleep over? Well, I mean, they're together, so he probably just sleeps over. He has his own place. Come on now. Jordan's a lawyer. Or was. I mean, I guess kind of. I don't know. I still say that I want him to be like a lawyer for the supernatural. I think that that's going to be fun. Mel's getting a new power. She is. She is. Is it the new power or her old powers? It's a new power. Well, before she could like slow time and move through time. Now she has the ability to send people through time or send items through time. So that's going to be super important, obviously for the next episode, but also is a difference in the ability. So there's still time powers there, but it is a different manifestation of said time powers. So there you go. I was vindicated the last two. Exactly. Last episode, yes, I was partially vindicated there because I never thought that Ruby, and because you say especially Ruby, but yeah, I never thought that Ruby and Mel had any kind of chemistry. So yes, I was very happy. Not that I don't like the actress of Ruby, but again, Ruby was a replacement for Kat because the actress from Kat left. And then, so there was really no real connection there. If that same character, if it was Kat or if it was Ruby the whole season, it would have been better than splitting it up, because then there was no time to really build that relationship, especially since they were rushing through those episodes anyway. So there you go. So far, season 4 has blown seasons 2 and 3 out of the water. I think it's blown all 3 of the previous seasons out of the water. I think they're doing an amazing job. Let's see. Season 1 still has my heart. I erased 2 and 3 and made 4 season 2. I guess I'm happy that seasons 2 and 3 like were there. You know, it's like a bad and I wouldn't even say bad season of a show. You know, it's just was very different and it was a little off and it didn't necessarily click. So they're kind of returning to like to the same formula that we all love. I love it when shows try different things. I want them to do that. I don't want the same thing over and over again, but you can't blow up what was there to such a degree that they did in season 2. Season 3, I would say season 3 suffered from COVID, and season 3 suffered from having to kind of play with the stuff that was introduced in the second season and try to bridge that gap and start heading towards kind of the old formula. So I can't even fault season 3 for kind of just being more of an extension of kind of the issues that season 2 introduced. But season 2 was not bad. Again, I will say it wasn't bad. The problem with season 2 was they were introducing so many huge changes into the setting and into the show and into the feeling and the mood and everything, the lessons, the morals, but they never held to what they were adding to the show. They were just adding, but then there was no payoff. It was just all of these things that broke the setting and the show without giving us any, healing potions, I guess is the way I'll say it. Wow, I did not know you made a game. I've made several games. Ninja Crusade is just one of them. And again, I don't talk about it a lot here, but my day job is that I'm a game designer. So I do game design, I do YouTube, and I do music. So I do a bunch of stuff. I talk about music all the time. Strays of the World music.com is the name of my band. New album's coming out soon. Go check it out. There you go. Quick plug. With his hands over Maggie was definitely creepy, but like his hands on Maggie wasn't the creepy part. It was like a scene like Psycho, right? Where there's this horror in the intimacy of the scene. And it adds a creep terror factor to it, which I love. So it was like, I don't know what's about to happen, but it's not going to be good. And because you give so much of yourself, you make yourself so vulnerable when you're getting a massage, like I mentioned before. So like he could have done anything. I thought when he was going to it was going to be neck and shoulder massage. I thought literally he was going to just choke her out and she was not going to have any way to defend against it. Neck and shoulders, makes sense to me, but he went for the hair, which seems the odd direction, because if I was Maggie, I'd be like, why the hell are you touching my hair? Don't be touching my hair. Why are you taking some of my hair? Wait a minute. This was a neck and shoulder massage, not a head massage. What are you doing? that would be me, of course, though. Yeah. So I'm here and we do editing so slow. And yeah, exactly. I actually love that the editing of the show and like how the approach of the show is slow. And I'm sure that had nothing to do with what I said, but I love that the slow progression of the show is just, it's turning me on. It's the best. It's gonna be so great. Anyway, yeah. Well, then that's that. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, guys. This was a lot of fun. This episode, best so far, introducing new characters, introducing new complications. I love it. I love it so much. Thank you to the new Charmed writers who are really taking the show in a great direction. And I assume that it was you editing, Maria. Sorry. Yeah, I'm so happy that they're taking it in a new direction. Come back next weekend. We will watch it again and we will go over stuff again and we'll discuss it more. Hopefully more of what I said will happen again. Again, completely vindicated by this season. I love it. They're saying everything that I have said, and these things are actually happening and having ramifications and consequences, and I love it. So with that in mind, I've been your host, Aloy. This has been The Turnout. Thanks for showing up. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and all this stuff, but I'll check you guys next time. Bye.